Commander Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the ESS Resilient, watching Earth's first contact delegation approach the massive Kirazay diplomatic vessel. The alien ship's crystalline architecture caught solar rays in mesmerizing patterns, but her attention was fixed on the subtle defensive arrays hiding beneath its ornate exterior. 15 years of deep space command experience had taught her to look past the obvious. Quite the light show they're putting on, Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez commented beside her, his fingers drumming nervously on the railing. Think they're compensating for something. Focus on the mission, Lieutenant, Sarah replied, though she shared his unease. The Kirazay Federation had appeared in Earth's solar system 3 weeks ago, broadcasting messages of peaceful contact in perfect English. Too perfect. They'd somehow studied humanity extensively before revealing themselves. The delegation's shuttle disappeared into one of the Kirazay vessel's geometric docking bays. Sarah's neural implant pinged with an incoming priority message. Command staff to briefing room immediately. Minutes later, Sarah sat with her senior officers around the holodeck as Fleet Admiral Harrison's grim face materialized above it. The initial meeting didn't go as hoped, he began without preamble. The Kirazay High Council has classified Earth as a Class 5 Deathworld, and humanity as a primitive species requiring evaluation before meaningful diplomatic relations can proceed. A heavy silence fell over the room. Sarah noticed Rodriguez's jaw clench, while her chief engineer, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, let out a quiet but creative string of curses in 3 languages. They've issued a formal challenge, Harrison continued. A series of trials to prove our species' worth. Failure means quarantine. They'll seal off our entire solar system, claiming we're too dangerous to join galactic society. Sarah leaned forward. And if we refuse? They've made it clear that's not an option. Their fleet outguns us by several orders of magnitude. We play their game, or they play theirs. What kind of trials are we talking about, sir? Rodriguez asked. Unknown. They'll reveal each test only as we face it. What we do know is they've requested, demanded, really, a single ship and crew to represent humanity. The ESS Resilient has been chosen. Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settle onto her shoulders as her crew turned to look at her. The Resilient was humanity's newest deep space vessel, incorporating their best technologies and commanded by their most experienced captain. A logical choice, but that didn't make it any less daunting. There's more, Harrison added. The Kirazay representative, one Supreme Arbiter Valthera, made some interesting observations about humans. Dr. Tanaka, you'll want to analyze the full biological data they provided, but the short version is they consider us barely evolved primitives. They're particularly fixated on our inefficient biological systems, our need for sleep, our susceptibility to radiation, our limited sensory capabilities compared to their species. Sounds like they've already decided we're going to fail, Sarah noted. That's my read as well, Commander. They seem to view these trials as a mere formality before quarantine, which means we need to show them exactly how wrong they are about humanity. Sarah finished. She stood, addressing her crew directly. Whatever tests they throw at us, remember this. We evolved on what they call a death world. Every step of human progress has been earned through blood, sweat, and determination. Where they see primitive systems, I see adaptability. Where they see weaknesses, I see the capabilities that let us survive everything Earth could throw at us. The room straightened with pride. Even Harrison's hologram seemed to stand taller. Dr. Tanaka, I want you analyzing every piece of data they've given us about their biology and technology. Lieutenant Rodriguez, run full combat simulations. If this goes sideways, I want options. The rest of you, prepare your departments for anything. We're about to show the galaxy what humanity can do. As her crew dispersed to their duties, Sarah returned to the observation deck. The Kirazay ship loomed larger than before, its crystalline surface now seeming less beautiful and more predatory. You think we're primitive, she murmured. You think we're dangerous. You have no idea. But you're about to learn. Her neural implant pinged again. The first trial would begin in 12 hours. Humanity's test had begun. Supreme Arbiter Valthera's hologram materialized in the Resilience briefing room, her crystalline form refracting light in hypnotic patterns. Your first trial tests basic survival competence, she announced, her tone carrying the same condescension as a teacher addressing a particularly slow child. Your vessel will be transported to the Nexus, a region of space where multiple realities intersect. Sarah noticed Dr. Tanaka's eyes widen at this casual mention of technology far beyond human capabilities. The Karazai were showing off, and they weren't subtle about it. Your task is simple, Valthera continued. Navigate through the Nexus and reach the beacon on the other side. You have 20 standard hours. Failure to complete the trial or destruction of your vessel will result in immediate quarantine of your species. The hologram vanished before Sarah could ask any questions. Moments later, the ship shuddered as iridescent energy enveloped it. All stations, report. Sarah commanded, steadying herself against the holodeble. Engineering stable, Tanaka responded. But these energy readings are off the charts. They're literally bending space around us. Weapons and shields at full power, Rodriguez added. Though I'm not sure they'll mean much where we're going. The energy flash subsided, revealing a sight that made even Sarah's experience jaw-drop. Space itself seemed to fracture around them, reality splintering into countless shimmering facets. Through the observation windows, they could see multiple versions of their own ship reflected in different sections of space, each moving slightly differently. Dr. Tanaka. Analysis. The engineer's fingers flew across her console. Each segment appears to be a different pocket of space-time, operating under slightly different physical laws. The beacon is visible, but she gestured to a distant golden point of light that seemed to shift position every few seconds. But we'd have to cross through multiple reality zones to reach it, Sarah finished, each with its own rules of physics. No wonder they gave us 20 hours. They don't think we can adapt fast enough. Rodriguez studied the tactical display. Standard navigation's useless. Each section shows different stellar positions, different gravitational fields. We could plot 1,000 courses and still end up nowhere. Sarah felt a smile tugging at her lips. They think this tests basic survival. But what it really tests is adaptability, humanity's greatest strength. She turned to her crew. Dr. Tanaka, how quickly can you modify our sensors to map the physical constants in each zone? Give me 30 minutes. But Commander, even if we can map them, the zones are shifting. Any route we plot will be obsolete before we're halfway through. Then we won't plot a fixed route. Lieutenant Rodriguez, remember the training simulation in the Jupiter gravity wells. The one everyone said was impossible. A matching grin spread across Rodriguez's face. The fractal navigation approach. That was crazy enough to work in normal space. In here, it might be crazy enough to work everywhere. Sarah activated the ship-wide comm. All hands, this is the commander. We're about to attempt something that's never been done before, because until today, it was impossible. Each department will receive new protocols within the hour. What we're about to do isn't in any manual, because we're writing the manual right now. That's what humans do. We adapt, we innovate, and we overcome. The next 18 hours were a masterclass in human ingenuity, as Tanaka's modified sensors mapped the ever-changing physics of each zone. Rodriguez developed an algorithm that treated the ship's course like a living thing, constantly evolving to match the shifting reality around them. The crew worked in perfect synchronization, making split-second adjustments as they moved through spaces where light behaved like water, where gravity pulled sideways, where time itself flowed like molasses. 3 times they nearly lost the ship, once to a zone where matter tried to convert spontaneously to energy, once to a pocket where the strong nuclear force went haywire, and once to a region that seemed to exist in 5 spatial dimensions. Each time, human creativity and determination pulled them through. With 30 minutes remaining, They emerged into the beacon zone. The Kirazay transport effect grabbed them immediately. When they rematerialized in normal space, Valthera's hologram appeared again. Her crystalline features were arranged in what might have been surprise, or possibly indigestion. "You succeeded," she stated, as if the words themselves were difficult to process. "Though your methods were unorthodox." "Unorthodox is what we do best," Sarah replied calmly. "Shall we proceed to the next trial?" The hologram flickered out, but not before Sarah caught a glimpse of what definitely looked like concern on the alien's face. She turned to her crew. "Get some rest. Something tells me they're just getting started." "Commander," Rodriguez called as she turned to leave. "What they called impossible. We just made it routine. Think they're starting to understand what that means." Sarah thought about Earth's history, about countless impossible challenges overcome through human perseverance and creativity. They're about to. Valthera didn't wait long to deliver their second trial. Her crystalline form shimmered into view as the crew was still running diagnostics from their Nexus navigation. "Your solution to the first trial was unexpected," she admitted, her multifaceted eyes scanning the bridge crew. "However, raw survival means little without the capacity for higher function. Your next trial will test your species' cognitive limitations." The air around the Resilient warped again, but this time they emerged orbiting a massive space station. Its architecture was distinctly Kirazay, all crystalline angles and geometric precision. Within this facility is an artificial intelligence containing vital diplomatic protocols. It has, regrettably, become corrupted. You have 10 hours to repair it before it triggers a cascading failure that will destroy the station and your ship. Valthera's expression shifted to something approaching pity. "Given your species' primitive neural architecture and need for regular consciousness interruption, sleep, as you call it, we consider this a generous time frame." After the hologram faded, Dr. Tanaka's analysis painted a grim picture. The AI core is protected by quantum encryption that adapts faster than our computers can process. Even if we could reach it, the corruption is spreading through quantum-entangled pathways. Traditional debugging is impossible. "They're not testing our technology," Sarah realized, studying the station schematics. "They're testing our biological limits. 10 hours of continuous high-intensity cognitive work, no breaks, no sleep. They think we'll crack under the pressure," Rodriguez finished. "Our primitive brains will fail when pushed to their limits." Sarah stood. "They don't understand that pressure is what forged humanity." "Dr. Tanaka, remember your thesis on human AI neural interfacing." The engineer's eyes widened. "Commander, that was theoretical. The neural load cold could break us, yes, or it could prove that human consciousness has capabilities the Kirazay haven't imagined. Bring it online." What followed was perhaps the most ambitious application of human neural technology ever attempted. Using their neural implants, Sarah and her senior staff linked their minds directly to the ship's computers, creating a hybrid human-machine intelligence that could perceive quantum states through pure intuition. The hours blurred together as they dove into the corrupted AI's quantum maze. Each mind in the neural network took on different aspects of the problem. Tanaka's mathematical brilliance, Rodriguez's tactical intuition, Sarah's strategic overview, all working in concert with the ship's processing power. They found the corruption wasn't random. It was a test within a test, a complex quantum riddle that required something the Kirazay hadn't anticipated: human creativity. While alien minds might approach quantum computing through pure logic, human consciousness could make intuitive leaps across quantum states, finding patterns through insight rather than calculation. 7 hours in, blood trickled from Rodriguez's nose. "Neural loads reaching critical," Tanaka warned, her own voice strained. "Human brains aren't meant to process quantum mathematics directly. They aren't meant to do a lot of things," Sarah responded, pushing through her own mounting headache. "Keep going. We're close." In the final hour, they cracked it. The corruption wasn't a simple malfunction. It was a quantum representation of ethical paradoxes, the kind of philosophical problems that pure logic could never resolve. But human consciousness evolved to handle contradictions and operate on multiple levels of meaning simultaneously, could grasp solutions that transcended pure mathematics. When Valthera's hologram reappeared, she found the crew exhausted but triumphant, the AI not just repaired but improved with uniquely human insights into ethical decision-making. "Impossible," she stated flatly. "Your neural architecture, the biological demands, you should have failed." Sarah, despite her exhaustion, managed to smile. "You keep using that word, impossible. We find it rarely applies to human determination." "You are bleeding," Valthera observed, noting the traces under Rodriguez's nose. "A common side effect of pushing beyond normal limits." Sarah replied, "Something humanity has extensive experience with." As the hologram faded, Sarah turned to her crew. "Get some rest. Our primitive brains have earned it." "Commander," Tanaka called out, "what they consider our greatest weakness, our messy, organic consciousness with all its limitations, just proved to be our greatest strength." "Exactly." Sarah looked out at the crystalline station, wondering what impossibility they would be asked to achieve next. They built their civilization on pure logic and perfect efficiency. They never understood that true resilience comes from overcoming limitations, not eliminating them. In her quarters later, reviewing the neural interface data, Sarah reflected that every trial seemed designed to prove humanity's inadequacy. Instead, they were proving something else entirely, that human adaptability, creativity, and sheer stubborn determination could turn any challenge into an opportunity. The next trial, she knew, would push them even further. But that's what humans did best. They pushed back. The Resilience Medical Bay was still treating neural strain casualties when Valthera appeared again. This time, something had changed in her crystalline features, a hint of uncertainty beneath the usual condescension. "Your solutions thus far have been unconventional," she began. "However, surviving and solving puzzles does not prove readiness for galactic society. True civilization requires unity, collective action under pressure, something your fragmentary species has historically struggled with." The ship shuddered, but instead of transportation, alarms blared throughout the vessel. "Multiple hull breaches," Rodriguez shouted. "Some kind of quantum-based weapon." "Your final trial begins now," Valthera announced. "Your vessel has been infected with quantum decay. It is spreading through your ship's atomic structure, converting matter to energy. You have 5 hours before total structural failure." The hologram vanished, leaving chaos in its wake. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut as entire sections of the ship began to literally dissolve. "Tanaka." "Status," Sarah commanded, steadying herself as the deck plates beneath her feet began to vibrate at the atomic level. "They introduced some kind of targeted quantum field that's breaking down molecular bonds," the engineer reported, fingers flying across multiple screens. "It's not just damaging the ship, it's unmaking it at the subatomic level." "Can we contain it?" "Negative. It's spreading through quantum entanglement. Our containment field's barely affected." Tanaka's face paled. "Commander, it's not just affecting the ship. The field is starting to interact with organic matter." Sarah watched in horror as a crew member's arm began to shimmer with the same iridescent energy eating through the hull. Medical teams rushed to respond, but traditional treatments were useless against quantum decay. "They've weaponized physics itself against us," Rodriguez said grimly. "How do we fight something that unmakes reality?" Sarah felt the deck shudder again as another section succumbed to the decay. But as she watched her crew responding, medical teams innovating on the fly, engineers jury-rigging solutions, everyone working together without hesitation, she understood what the Kairazai had miscalculated. "We don't fight it," she declared. "We adapt to it. All hands, this is the commander. What we're facing isn't just a threat to our ship, it's a threat to our very atomic structure." But humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our intelligence. It's our ability to unite and evolve in the face of the impossible. Over the next 4 hours, the Resilient became a crucible of human innovation. Dr. Tanaka discovered that human neural patterns, properly synchronized, could actually stabilize quantum fields. They began linking crew members together in carefully calculated networks, their combined consciousness creating zones of quantum stability. Medical teams, led by Dr. Maya Patel, realized that human DNA's natural repair mechanisms could be accelerated and modified to resist quantum decay. Engineering crews developed a way to channel the decay energy itself, using it to power makeshift quantum stabilizers. What emerged wasn't just a solution, it was an evolution. The crew learned to exist in a state of quantum flux, their combined consciousness creating a field of stable reality around the ship. Individual humans linked into greater patterns, turning the very force meant to destroy them into a source of unprecedented unity. When Valthera's hologram reappeared in the final minutes, she found not a dissolving ship and dying crew, but something her species had never imagined. Humans operating as a quantum-synchronized collective while maintaining their individual creativity and determination. This is, for the first time, the alien seemed at a loss for words. You have altered your fundamental atomic structure, evolved your consciousness, unified your disparate minds, all in mere hours. That's what humanity does, Sarah replied, her voice resonating with the harmonic patterns now flowing through the ship. We don't just survive challenges, we grow through them, together. A primitive species should not be capable of such adaptation, Valthera insisted, but her voice had lost its certainty. Perhaps, Sarah suggested, it's time to reconsider your definition of primitive. As the quantum decay field dissolved, leaving the Resilient forever change, Sarah looked at her crew, now linked in ways they barely understood but had already mastered. The Kairazé had tried to unmake them at the atomic level, not realizing that humanity's true strength lay not in their physical structure, but in their boundless capacity to adapt and unite in the face of extinction. The final trial was coming, and now humanity wasn't just ready. They were evolving beyond anything their testers had imagined possible. The Resilience crew gathered in the main hall, their quantum-synchronized consciousness humming with newfound power. Throughout the ship, iridescent patterns flowed through the air, visible manifestations of their evolved state. What the Kairazé had intended as a weapon had become something unprecedented, a bridge between human consciousness and quantum reality itself. Valthera's final appearance was different. Instead of a hologram, she arrived in person, her crystalline form refracting the quantum energies now pervading the ship. Behind her stood members of the Kairazé High Council, their multifaceted eyes studying the humans with what could only be described as awe. In all our history of evaluating species, Valthera began, her voice carrying unfamiliar harmonics of respect. None have ever transformed during the trials themselves. Sarah stepped forward, the quantum field rippling around her. You tested our ability to survive, our intelligence, and our unity. But you didn't understand what you were really testing. Humanity's fundamental nature. We don't just adapt to survive. We evolve through challenges. Your ship's sensors recorded everything. One of the council members spoke. In mere hours, you achieved what our species spent millennia working toward. True quantum consciousness while maintaining individual identity. It should have been impossible. Impossible, Sarah smiled, is just another word for something humans haven't done yet. The quantum field pulsed as Dr. Tanaka stepped forward, neural interfaces glowing. Your trials forced us to confront our limitations, our need for sleep, our neural architecture, our atomic stability. But limitations aren't weaknesses. They're opportunities for growth. You called Earth a death world. Rodriguez added, the quantum patterns around him shifting with his emotions. But every challenge our planet threw at us made us stronger, more adaptable. We didn't just survive Earth. We were forged by it. Valthera moved closer, studying the quantum phenomena with evident fascination. When we discovered your species, we saw primitive beings trapped on a hostile world. We designed these trials to prove your unreadiness for galactic society. Instead, Sarah finished, we proved that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our biological capabilities. It's our ability to transform ourselves through sheer determination and unity. The council members conferred briefly in their crystalline language before Valthera spoke again. The quarantine is lifted. But more than that, the Kirzay Federation formally requests an alliance with humanity. A ripple of surprise passed through the quantum field connecting the crew. An alliance? Sarah asked. Your species has demonstrated something we thought impossible. Continuous, rapid evolution through challenge. While we perfected ourselves through careful, controlled advancement, you embrace chaos and emerge stronger. Together, Valthera's form shifted, displaying new patterns that seemed almost human in their complexity. Together, we could achieve things neither of our species could imagine alone. Sarah looked at her crew, humans who had transcended their own physical limitations, united in ways they were only beginning to understand. The Kirzay had tried to prove humanity's unworthiness for the galaxy. Instead, they had helped launch humanity's next evolutionary leap. We accept, Sarah declared, not as primitive beings seeking advancement, but as equals offering partnership. The galaxy is vast, filled with challenges neither of us can predict. Together, we can face them all. As the Kirzay delegation departed, Sarah stood at her familiar spot on the observation deck. Earth was a distant blue dot, but she could feel it through her enhanced consciousness, the Deathworld that had prepared humanity for this moment. Commander, Rodriguez joined her, quantum patterns swirling between them. Do you think they understand yet what they really tested? Sarah watched the Kirzay ship's crystal surface reflect starlight. They tested our limits, she said, but they didn't realize that humans don't believe in limits. We never have. And now, she gestured to the quantum energy flowing through the ship, through their very beings. Now we have proof that our only real limit is our imagination. The Resilient's quantum-enhanced systems hummed with power as they prepared for their return to Earth. They would arrive changed, evolved, ready to guide humanity into a future where impossible was just the beginning of what they could achieve. Their test was over. Their evolution was just beginning.